Welcome to Product Week. Welcome to Product Week, everyone. An event designed to help you develop and level up your PM skills and career. This event is powered by ADPList, the biggest peer-to-peer learning platform in the world. If you want to learn, get mentored from the best tech talents in the world, discuss ideas and network, ADPList is the perfect match for you. We are 100% free. In this PM week, we have a bounty. You have a chance to win an Apple Watch. We're giving away an Apple Watch kindly sponsored by Product Academy. All you have to do is share what you've learned from your sessions on LinkedIn and Twitter. Tag the speakers and ADPList. Details will be shared in the chat section in a moment. For us to run the session smoothly, a few housekeeping rules. Please keep your cameras on. Please use your real name on Zoom and Slido. Presentation will be 30 minutes and quickly followed up by a 15-minute Q&A. For the Q&A, we are using Slido to manage your questions. Scan the QR code behind me or on the screen, or use the link in the chat where you can ask your questions. Please remember to send questions with your name, since anonymous questions won't be considered. You can also upvote each other's questions for our speakers. This session will be recorded and we will share the recording as soon as it is available. So for today, we have 4 panelists that are also mentors at ADPList. So it's my immense pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Amit, COO of Somatix, Dylan, lead product owner at 2 Degrees, Hitender, director products at RTR Exchange, and Danilo or Dino, group product manager at Erudify. And these are our panelists from today. I will pass it over to Hitender, so you can take it over. He will be our moderator for this panel session. Take it away.
Somebody needs to unmute me.
There you go.
Okay,
all
cool.
unmuted.
Thank you, Lim. So very nice evening, everybody, and welcome to the first panel. And we are so lucky to have you here. And I'm being very honored to be part of this wonderful panel and sharing the stage with wonderful brains here. So I will be your moderator this evening, and let's see what justice we can do, what knowledge we can share with the audience, and how we can help them to navigate their career towards the product management. And I believe that a lot of people from the audience will carry a lot of knowledge and learning today, which will help them to eventually apply into their career prospects, and they will be able to, get something successfully in the product management space. So before I kickstart and start asking the questions, so let me start by saying that this product management or product manager is a very strange role. So sometimes, we wonder that there's no formal education, there's no formal qualification, but how people get into this product management role. If you want to become a lawyer, you go to a law school. If you want to become a doctor, you go and study medicine. If you want to become an accountant, you go and study accounting and CPA, CGA, etc. So there's a straightforward qualification behind some of those successful designation. But what about product management? So in my experience, I see there's a lot of myth, there's a lot of confusion as well among the youngsters, among the aspirant product managers, that how do they get into the ladder? So let me start asking the questions. How do we become a product manager? So I would like to ask Dylan, my fellow panelist, if he can share some light.
Yeah, I believe I probably had quite an interesting journey into product. with that, I have obviously had a lot of luck in kind of the jobs that I kind of fell into that kind of gave me that opportunity to kind of show off my product prowess in those roles. I think what I kind of was attracted to first in the product role was kind of the technology side of things, the problem solving side of things, working with developers and working on like innovative ideas. And so that kind of gave me the motivation to move into that space. And what I kind of adapted within that journey was kind of identifying the key leaders that I could aspire to, or that I could kind of cling on to and kind of give me that guidance and coaching to get me into those roles and make me become as successful as possible. So I moved into I was an admin in a company to begin with, and I moved into a test analyst role. And within that test analyst role, I was able to kind of identify how kind of agile worked and how companies transformed with technology and how to kind of innovate in the processes. But I had always had this aspiration to kind of look at the top end, look at the strategy, look at how I can try and like influence and change kind of what we're working on within a company and utilizing technology to kind of build efficiencies and make people's lives better. So from that test analyst role, I then moved into a product owner role and worked on front end industries. I've worked in back end tooling, which kind of was the thing that probably elevated me even further in my kind of product understanding, working with users really closely and aligned to kind of what the business value is that we're actually delivering. Obviously, the complexities with the technology behind that as well is they are often more complex than building something that is more customer facing. That's where I really started like growing and adapting. From there, I've moved into senior technical product manager roles at ASOS, into product manager roles in a lot of like e-commerce luxury brands. More recently, I've moved into roles where I've kind of built up the skill set in product management to be more adaptable. So identifying those key skills that I've learned that I can now kind of transfer industries. And I've jumped from e-com now to banking and now into telco as well, where I've been able to utilize those skills that I've grown or given myself within that growth period to now be strong in kind of any industry that I fall into, because you do see a lot of repetitive patterns that you can improve on and really try and like thrive with what you have in your package that you've created.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dylan. So your journey is inspiring, and I think you carry a wisdom and a lot of knowledge with you. So thank you so much for such a wonderful background you have. So let me post a question here to my panelist, and let me pick Dino from the panel. So Dino, what do you think could be a good quality to become a great or a successful product manager?
All right. So good morning. I don't know what time zone people are in, but here in the Philippines, it's the morning. So I just had breakfast. So thank you for inviting me here to be a panel. Just wanted to, I guess, answer the question. And I think how I'd like to answer the question is it depends on the type of rank. So where I'm coming from here is more an entry level or a beginning product management role. I think there are two key qualities that I look for in a product manager. The first is curiosity. I think curiosity is an important quality to look for, mainly because you really want to be involved in product. In product, you can't be a good product manager if you are not involved in the building of the product, to the coordinating with business operations, whoever you need to talk to in terms of that type of collaboration, right? So one, curiosity is something that I want to take a look at. The second is flexibility. Because essentially, for me, a product manager is a translator of many different languages. The language of technology is something that you need to translate to the language of the business, and you have to talk these same languages because you have to translate them, because you turn them into requirements and priorities, right? So those are the two things that I take a look at. Obviously, there are a lot of other facets, but at the beginning level, if you come from a foundation of curiosity, wanting to know more about products, and at the same time flexibility, you can move between different meetings and facilitations and collaborations to be able to come up with a prioritized feature set, then that would be a great starting point for a product manager.
Lovely. So I see there are good key pointers coming out here. So one, Dylan mentioned that somebody needs to be a problem solver. Another, Dino mentioned that a person who can communicate different languages, be it technology, be it business, or be it design. And so, Amit, let me ask you this. So if somebody carried these qualities, so he's a good problem solver, he's a good communicator, do you think he can be a good product manager?
Yeah, I think absolutely. These are a couple of key essential aspects of being a good product manager. But let's say if I were to come up with my own quality of what makes a great product manager, to me, it's having high agency. So what do I mean by that? By high agency, I mean having that getting things done attitude, in the sense that you are, so that sort of encompasses that problem solving aspect and never giving up attitude, in the sense that you would be faced and provided with an environment where not necessarily everything will be handed to you. It's how is it that you can take all of the pieces together and then still come up with a solution addressing your customer. So having that customer centricity aspect where you're looking towards solving a problem for the customer, and whatever pieces that you're handed with, how is it that you can build a solution with the environment that you're provided? That's what I mean in terms of having that high agency attitude. Of course, there are so many different qualities that you need to have in terms of being a great product manager. But with the true spirit of prioritizing things, I would prioritize having high agency as one of the key aspects in order to for somebody to be really great at being a product manager.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I think I agree with all of you that some of the pointers, like somebody who is great communicator, who's a problem solver, who thinks from a user centricity perspective, who has a kind of a behavior and data driven approach. And another important piece is that the person who can handle ambiguity, and the
Absolutely.
person who can think of putting a product in such a way that he can think about what if this product doesn't exist in the market, who are the great competitor, and what this product can add value differently to people's life or to users life or to the consumer's life. I think these are the some of the qualities or some of the skills if somebody carries. Or another point which I would like to add, and I would like to seek an opinion from the fellow panelists. If somebody got an entrepreneurial mindset, do you guys think that person could also be a great product manager? So if someone is entrepreneurial, can he be a product manager?
I can give my 2 cents. So I think one of the things, I think yes. I think one of the starting points of a good product manager is really innovation, and I think that's where people come in with an entrepreneurial mindset. But also, being an entrepreneur also means sort of trying to take a look at how you can launch something fast while delivering value, and I think that's the goal of a product manager as well. And I'd like to say what I've noticed is the CEOs of startups are essentially the first product managers, because they're the ones that have an idea and they're the ones that can work with people, whether they be singularly or they look for someone to help them bring that product, and essentially they test that value to users. So that's those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, the one point I would add here is, as an entrepreneur, I'm inventing something, right? So you need to move from inventing to innovation. And when we say the translation of invention to innovation is where customer adoption happens, right? So that's where you as an entrepreneur need to be part of that journey And as an entrepreneur / product manager, you need to be open to feedback. Sometimes I've seen that entrepreneurs are, for good or for bad, are resistant to some feedback in terms of improving the product or moving in a different direction or pivoting into a different direction, right? So this is where you need to be, if an entrepreneur wants to be a good product manager, you need to be open, you need to be receptive to getting new ideas. But then also at the same point, I can understand the pros and cons that as an entrepreneur, you want to stick to your guns. And no matter what, you still need to build upon your invention and try to get into that innovation part, right? So there's that, I guess I would say that healthy trade-off between being an entrepreneur and being a first product manager, let's say, within that particular startup.
Mhm.
And I think these entrepreneurs leave their imprints from a culture perspective in terms of how the product is developed, how the company goes forward, right? So that's also very critical.
I
Brilliant,
think,
brilliant inputs.
yeah.
Yeah, Dylan, do you have something to add?
Yeah, just on top of what Amit and Danny had said. So on top of that, they're basically, entrepreneurs come with a really strong vision. They come from a really strong vision, whether it's the company or for the product. They're going to be able to drive that. They're going to be able to inspire people. People are going to kind of rally around that energy. I think where entrepreneurs may struggle within the product space is basically the constraints, what they'll be working with. And we all know, every company we work for, there is so many constraints to kind of delivering what either the customer is asking for or whatever our stakeholders are asking for. So that's where it would be a challenge, I think, for someone who's super driven, super entrepreneurial to come into a company to be like, yes, I really want to be this product person and I really want to change the world. They will get hit very quickly with a number of different constraints, whether it's technology, whether it's people, whether it's money. And I guess then you would need to apply the entrepreneurial skills of how can I be a bit more innovative with what I do have available to me, and how can I kind of get around those types of things and really start delivering on that vision that I'm really confident on and I'm really strong on and able to lead a team with. So that would be my.
Absolutely. I think the great piece of advice here for the audience is that think and act like a CEO and CEO of that particular product. Think and act like an entrepreneur. Own that particular product from not only from a vision perspective, from invention to innovation perspective and transformation perspective, where you need to build the adoption in such a way that the adoption and the customer user, the end user is not having friction by way of process, people, and technology. So I think removing some of these barriers is also a great thing to look at when somebody would like to become a successful product manager. Great inputs. So thank you for sharing the insights. So now let me ask Dylan, we hear a lot of technical jargon, behavior-driven designs, customer-centric designs, and agile product manager, this and that. What do you think these jargons are? If I ask you to put this in a very simple word for somebody to understand it in a much simpler manner, how would you describe them? I guess Dylan.
Looks like Dylan is muted.
Muted
Yeah, can you
again.
need to unmute Dylan?
I keep muting.
He's
My idea around this jargon is it's a lot of fluff. There is a lot of fluff out there, and there's a lot of kind of information that is fed into these different teams about theories and ways of approaches. And I think you just need to kind of remove a lot of that noise and really take it back to kind of what we're actually trying to do here and what we're trying to actually do as product people. And it's really about understanding the people around us and kind of utilizing those skills and having these frameworks to kind of guide you and kind of give you that path to get there. I think once you do become stronger and you do kind of start seeing yourself grow as a great product person, you start seeing it's like, how can I utilize all these different frameworks in the environment that I'm in right now? Because it's never going to be the same. You're never going to have the same experience in every company. So those tools and those jargons, they're useful, and I think they're able to give you, like, you're able to remember them and you're able to kind of fall back on them. But at the end of the day, it's more a combination of a lot of different things. And from my perspective, I think the most important thing is about having empathy for the people around you, is how you're going to be the most successful in any role that you go to. It's about understanding your development team. What is it about them that they're struggling with right now that me as a product person can try and help kind of unblock for them? Whether is it that vision that I'm meant to be doing? Is it that they can't release? Is it that they are so misaligned with the strategy that they just need to get a bit of a railroad in front of them to kind of give them guidance? And then it's the same. Have I got empathy for my stakeholders? Have I got empathy for my managers? Do I really understand what they're after? Do I understand what their challenge is? Do I understand what success means for them? It's like having that thought, and I think it feeds into all these other points that we've been making, like that curiosity. It's about having that understanding, about asking those questions, but from a really empathetic point of view. And it's applied exactly the same to yourself, having empathy for yourself, about knowing who you are, what can kind of motivate you and what can challenge you, but also then the customer. So what is it about the customer? What questions am I asking that customer? Why is this a problem for them? And how am I addressing that problem and then prioritizing the right thing? So yeah, jargon, it's just really cut it back to kind of what the basics.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dylan. So, and Dino, let me come to you. You mentioned that a good product manager needs to be a good communicator as well, to understand the language of technology. Do you think if somebody who doesn't understand technology can be a good communicator and can be a good product manager as well?
So again, if I talk about entry-level roles, the important thing is the flexibility to be able to learn quickly, because as I think we can talk about if product management is really for everyone, but I think it would require some quick learning curve with regard to understanding a lot of different facets of the business, because you have to understand how the business operates, how you have to understand how technology operates, and you also have to understand how your users behave with your technology. So bringing that together under a product management role, obviously it's hard. But at the same time, also, if you have the learning capacity to be able to take all of these things and try to understand how you can contribute, then you don't need to really have to come from a technical background. Just a bit about myself, I have a psychology background and a human resources background. But mid my career, I transitioned into a technology role. So I guess I can talk about myself also in that way. So yeah, that's how I'd answer that. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so one thing, if I may, a quick thing I would like to add here is that at the end of the day, it's about establishing credibility with your cross-functional stakeholders, mainly, let's say, with your engineering folks. It doesn't matter whether you have a technical background or a non-tech background. If you are not able to establish credibility, I don't think you're going to go too far in your, in terms of driving the product forward, right? So if you don't have a technical background and if you show the inclination towards learning, as Dino said, showing that curiosity, showing that learning ability and going above and beyond, so that engineering understands that, okay, you have the customer's best interest in mind and you're learning things. So thereby you can gain credibility, right? So yeah, credibility can be gained quicker if you have the tech background, but it can be established quickly as well by you showcasing your interest in the product, wanting to learn new things, spending more time with engineering. So,
right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yeah, Dylan, you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say the credibility, what comes with credibility is trust. So it's like, what am I doing to build trust with my stakeholders or my customers or as a business? Like, just that's like one of the main things is like, how do I build trust?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the common theme here is evolving is the building the trust and building the credibility. And even though if you don't have a technical know-how or that knowledge, but if you're good in collaboration, if you're good in influencing, then you can become a successful product manager. That's what I can carry and I can take away from here. Now,
And technology keeps changing, right? Technology
Absolutely.
keeps changing. Even I, a couple of years ago, I moved from high-tech data management into health tech space. So there was a learning curve going from a different industry into a newer industry, but still the product management principles in terms of how do you go about building a product strategy, building the roadmap, and then working with your engineering folks in dissecting that into a product backlog. That's those principles kind of stay the same. Of course, you need to understand the regulations of the industries that you're working in and all of those things, which will come in time. But the core product management skill set kind of stays the same as you move across industries.
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally agree with you. And I think in my experience, what I feel is as a product manager needs to be a lifelong learner. And if that person is a learner, as you said, that technology is evolving, things are evolving around us every single day. So if a person who is into the product space is a learner or a quick learner, and he or she has an attitude towards learning and is a curious and hunger of that knowledge, I think nobody can beat that person, and that person will definitely be a successful product manager. So, Amit, let me ask you one more thing here. So, a lot of time we speak about that product manager carries the vision, and there is a vision. Then, how do you think a product manager can empower the team to do certain things, but without losing the product vision? Is there a way that they can empower the team without diluting their product vision?
Okay. Yes, the way to look at a product management role is that you are representing the customer when the customer is not within the confines of your offices, whether remote or physical offices, right? So you need to be the representative of the customer with your cross-functional stakeholders, whether it's your account team, sales, whether it's your engineering folks, right? And then you need to be the translator of how is your product strategies, the product or the product portfolio, the features, functionality that you are entrusted with, that is within your scope. How does that tie with the overall company vision, the company goals? And how is it that whatever work that you and your teams are going to do, how does that move the needle from a company vision perspective? And then how is it that you can inspire your product teams saying that, okay, if we do this, this is going to happen from a company perspective, from a company vision perspective. So that's where you get the buy-in from your product teams, whether it's your cross-functional teams that you're working with, inspire them in terms of like product management at the end of the day is around delivering the message around why is it that we want to work on something, why is it important, and what is it that we should be working on, and then working closely with your engineering folks on how is it that we are going to go about doing that, right? So you need to be inspiring your product team. You need to be making sure that they completely understand how does the product, the feature that they are going to work on, impact the overall company vision. So that's why you build that alignment, right? So it's about crafting a vision, building the alignment with your product teams, and then championing the execution. Once you have that buy-in, once you have inspired your teams, and then you work on the execution part.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's what it is all about, and creating a vision, then aligning everybody with that vision, and bringing that mindset and mind change, and winning of that mind share, I believe. If you have done that, then I think nobody will compromise on the vision, but they will all get aligned and rather be motivated to deliver that. So wonderful.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's about the opportunity cost, right? You could be working on let's say, the product team can be working on 10 things. We have only resources to do 5 things. So as a product leader, it's my responsibility to prioritize and identify what are the 5 things that the product team should be working on. And you as a product leader need to convince your product teams that these are the right 5 things to be working on, because the ROI on that, whether it's from a strategic impact perspective, competitive differentiation perspective, and whatever other metrics that you come up with, you need to identify and convince the product teams that these are the right set of 5 things to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Beautiful.
just to be mindful of the time, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I will be taking over for the questions from the audience, if you don't mind.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So yeah, the first question is from Sarjit, I believe. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. He asks, or she asks, what qualities would make someone the worst product manager? Who wants to go?
I can add. I think one quality that I would not look for is, I think, to be more individualistic, or to be just be an individual contributor. Because if you tend to work in silos, then you're not encouraging the right culture to be able to really bring out the best product and eventually value for users out there. So if you are more of a individual contributor, I guess that would be more of a technical product manager role for a specific type of function. But if it's a collaborative product manager role that the company would need, then I wouldn't say that there is really someone that's worst. I guess there's certain qualities that would make you lend to certain roles, right? So that's what I would take a look at for a product manager.
I would add on top of that, someone who's like resistant to change. So if you're someone who doesn't like change or doesn't like things challenging you every single day from 1,000 different ways, you're probably not going to be successful as a product manager. You really have to be adaptable, and you really have to kind of take the hits and kind of keep pushing forward and be proactive about it as well. And kind of like, if you're going to say, I don't want to change, this is the process, this is how it's going to be. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend someone being a product manager if that's their mindset.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Our next question is from Harsha. Could you share methods on translating tech to clients or stakeholders? How to not get lost in details while translating, and how to deal with conflicting ideas? Those are a lot of questions, so whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Okay, I can take a stab at this. Methods of translating tech to client stakeholders. Yeah, I think, like having that, once again, I'm going to go back to stating the fact that being very customer driven in terms of what are the challenges that customers are running into today and potentially may run into the next year or two, capturing that data and then working towards what resources are in-house, what is it that we can do with the engineering teams, what is it that we can do from a partnership perspective to try and address those customer challenges. And in terms of addressing the conflicting ideas, so this sort of goes back to the prioritization aspect that you need to have some framework in terms of how you go about prioritizing the features, capabilities that you incorporate into a product, whether that's a strategic initiative, how does that particular feature capability tie into the overall company vision, the product vision. Then in terms of, okay, if I were to do this, is my market differentiation going to increase? Then if I were to do this, am I addressing certain technical debt that I have accumulated over a period of time? Then the next one is, how much time is that going to take? Am I going to be able to deliver this particular feature capability in a short amount of time or a long duration? So that way you can prioritize certain things. And then once you have this ranked order features or capabilities that you want to deliver. Hopefully that will help you address some of these conflicts that you may have by having that customer centricity and having a framework to prioritize things and then going about executing on those.
Lovely, lovely. And it ties back to the previous session, which was all about user centricity. So thank you so much. Did anyone have anything else to add?
I can just add something. So there's lots
Yes,
of,
go ahead.
like Amit was saying, there's so many frameworks and kind of tools out there that you can use to kind of solve a lot of these problems. If you're looking at it from the problem statement area, you can identify what is the problem, like really focusing on the problem. You probably want to focus less on the technology and more on the problem if you're talking to stakeholders and clients, because they will not understand a lot of that technical jargon. I think if you use the framework around like, what is the problem, who does it impact, and what does success look like, that's like probably the bare basics that you would want to start with. From then on top of there, you can start building hypotheses. So there's so many frameworks on building hypotheses that you can follow, that you can use to kind of take those problems and initiate them into the like technical delivery team. And then you get into more detail where it's just like writing user stories, like down to the kind of like the feature level. So those are just a few tools that you would kind of want to utilize within those discussions to kind of help you at those different levels.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next question. What are some of the most common mistakes you see newbie product managers making that keep them from developing further?
So let me take that. So I think the first common mistake which we see the newbies they do is they don't keep the communication channel open among themselves, among the developer team, and among the testing team, among the customers and all. So the communication and the collaboration is the key here to become a very successful product person. Sometimes I've also seen that you might have a great design from a product manager's or a product design perspective, but there are certain technical difficulties to build that design, or to come up with certain obstacle within the design when it comes down to actual building that application or building that piece of a software or a product or what you may call it. So understanding that difficulty, the technical challenge, and I see that most of these newbies fail there, and they don't understand that technical challenge. So a dialogue needs to happen with that team who's bringing that challenge. Try and understand their point of view. Maybe they have a better idea which can solve your problem without diluting the vision you carry for the product. So I think some of these areas, if somebody keeps an eye on it and they're curious and they're open to ideas, they're open to feedback, then I think they can avoid some of these mistakes.
I can
the one thing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So I just wanted to add quickly that the one thing that I realized working with newbie product managers is the tendency to stick to a process too much and trying to follow that process as if it's like gospel. And I know that that's sometimes what's taught with regard to, I guess, senior people. That's something that sometimes it's taught, right? But I found what's helpful for a product manager to take a look at, and like what Dylan said, not just building empathy for the end user, but also building empathy for the team or the squad that is being handled. So if the process isn't working for this specific squad, then it's on that product manager to also adjust accordingly. If this specific sprint means that there are people who are in the office for example, a certain holiday, then it might be good to postpone a sprint planning, right? Rather than following a specific process that might not work for the specific team. So just wanted to add that as a mistake that I noticed.
Yeah, just the one quick thing I would add here. Typically when I look at great product managers, I think of three senses. You need to have great product sense. You need to have great analytical sense. And the third one is execution sense. So as you start into your journey into product management, you get started off with the execution sense. You're working towards, like you have sort of given a backlog, you're working with engineering, you are in that execution phase in terms of delivering. And then they start seeing success. And then they think, okay, if I were to do more of this, I'm going to be a great product manager. So they keep spinning their wheels on the execution sense. So they don't really exercise a whole lot around the product sense aspect or even the analytical sense aspect. So when I look at a great product manager, you absolutely need to be in the top 10% from a product sense perspective. And especially when new product managers start in and they start seeing success in the first year, in the first couple of years, they're still focused on the execution part rather than exercising their muscle in the product sense and the analytical sense part. So that's my 2 cents in terms of what I've seen newbies sort of miss out on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's take another question and see how we do with time, and maybe we can get another one. So the next question is from Sanika. How do you build that trust with stakeholders?
Go on that one.
Who would like to take that?
So I think one of the most important things is like from a personal level, as you do need to get personal. And I think one of those things is like yourself being authentic. And I feel like it's such an important skill to be able to bring to the workplace that I don't think a lot of people kind of pay attention to. And I think it's some places like ADPList who can probably help with that to kind of define really who you are as a person in the workplace. And you kind of like need to really bring that to stakeholders to demonstrate that they can trust who you are because you are being yourself and you have confidence, you are self-aware, you know what your weaknesses are, you know what your strengths are. And that's just one of the things. And it may sound detrimental to the thing, but it's like do less and deliver more frequently. Like just demonstrate that you can add value to this business as soon as possible, rather than doing huge big projects and not really delivering anything at all. So that would be my key for that.
Yeah, and I would like to add here is, and I'm picking something from Amit. I think being analytical is important here to build trust with the stakeholders. When you're presenting certain things to stakeholders, you need to sound confident with some analysis you might have done with supporting of some data, some evidences, which can make you sound confident and which can build trust with stakeholders, because stakeholders are looking for certain results which can solve their problem, which can take away their pain areas. And if you are the person who can really show them how you can make that happen and how you can make them successful, that's the key here to build that trust. And another thing I would like to add here is that if you are a person who can bring method to the madness, you can build trust.
That's a good one. Take note, everyone in the chat. Okay, thank you so much. Let's take one last question. Maya Salas says, what advice do you have for transitioning from UX design, content design, UX writing, product design into product management? Who would like to take that?
Okay, I can take that. So I think one of the things that is helpful is trying to understand also what are translatable skills that you can take from your current discipline into product management. Because at least from what I've observed is UX design already has the empathy for the users because they already are into the research initiatives and understanding also how to build, let's say, UI and creating research initiatives to improve UX, right? So there's already that understanding. So from building on top of that understanding is now just trying to widen the scope, moving into product management. So trying to understand deeper the technology behind the UI or the UI that you created is important, and trying to understand the business model that powers the whole product will help that perspective. So trying to take a look at it from a standpoint of when you transition, you would already have translatable skills. It's now building on top of those skills to be able to take a look at what is lacking where you have to spend more time on, and eventually making that full transition. But yeah, it's been done. I've known people who have done this, and they've been very good product managers as well.
Mhm.
If I may like to add here, so I think this is a very good place to be in and to transit into product management role. It becomes a little easier if you carry a little business sense and business side of the product along with you, because a lot of product managers, they already completely dependent upon the designers to give it a shape to their product, and they need to explain it to them that what exactly their business model is and what they are looking at to solve. So if a product designer or a UX designer or a UX writing person understand that business concept and that business value behind that particular design, I think he can transit and he can move into product management space very easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, so in addition to what Hitender and Dino have already said, a couple of things I would say is understand your why. As to why is it that you want to be a product manager? As a product designer, you're already working with product managers, so you have a decent enough understanding in terms of what product managers do. If not, work very closely, have lunch with your product managers, maybe try and take a couple of tasks off their hands and try and deliver on that. Even before you get the product manager title, try and maybe for a sprint or two, act as a product manager for a certain subset of the features or capabilities that your product manager is trying to deliver, and see if that's something you would like to do. And then in that process, evaluate your why. That, okay, I want to be a product manager because I want to be really close to the customer, understand their challenges. If that's your why, then go and figure that out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. So right now, what I'm going to do is ask everyone to turn on their cameras so we can take a quick selfie of everybody in this session. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Yeah, get ready. Let's do this in 1, 2, 3. Smile, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to be with you today. Thank you, all of the panelists, for this amazing session. I am sure that I can speak for the participants. There was so many insights, so many lessons here that are super applicable. Thank you so much for sharing so much with us today. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. Again, just a reminder to post your learnings on LinkedIn and Twitter, tag the speakers and ADPList, and stand a chance to win an Apple Watch on our giveaway bounty. For details on participation, check out our message in the chat window or our Product Week landing page. For those of you who want to learn more from the best tech talents in the world, discuss ideas, network, and get mentorship, head over to our website, adplist.org, or follow us on our social medias. Together, let's be more. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. Can't wait to see you around in the next sessions of the PM Week. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers.
Yeah.